I got into that film because Jesse had written this script called Nine Across, and I was so impressed with it. It was the first script I'd ever read, but I really liked it, and I thought it was a great story, and I really wanted to get behind it. And to be honest, I really didn't know what I was doing when I started producing it. But I think I sort of went in boots and all, learnt on the job, and was just so proud with the end result. I mean, like, what Jess did as a debut film was just so impressive, and Aaron's DOP work was equally as impressive. I was just stoked with that film. Renna was incredibly gracious because she had just come off Once Were Warriors, and we kind of went in cap in hand and said, hey, you don't know us, we've never made anything, we've got no credits, and we can't give you any money, but you want to be in our short film? And she said yes. And I went to see Vincent Ball, and I had this whole pitch ready for him, and I went to see him in his home about 2 hours outside of Sydney, and I kind of had this whole pitch, and about halfway through I just stopped and I just said, Vincent, I got to tell you the truth, I've never made a film before, I don't know what I'm doing, but I really want you to do this film. And he leaned forward and he patted me on the knee and he said, I figured that out ages ago, of course I'll be in your film. So that's how we got those two actors into Nine Across. Making Nemesis Game was brutal, just on every level. I mean, for a start, we were young guys. I was only 28 years old. I was a long way from home. I was making my first feature. It was a tripartite feature film, New Zealand, UK, Canada, the first one that had ever been done, and I hadn't made a feature film before, or financed a feature film. So we were there, sort of alone, if you will, without a kind of a support network. We had no money. We had basically written off our fees to make the film. We were basically living off nothing. We didn't exactly know what we were doing. We were feeling our way forward in the dark, learning as we went, and we were dealing with Lionsgate, which is a tough company. Look, they're fair, and they were supportive, but they're a tough company dealing with a Hollywood company and Hollywood agents. So it was a baptism of fire. It was a great baptism of fire, and I'm really grateful for it, but it was a baptism of fire. Vietnam, my father's war, was an intensely personal story for me. You know, I was a soldier myself, but I was under no pretenses. I wasn't a soldier like my father was a soldier. My father went to the Royal Military College Duntroon, one of the toughest military academies in the world. He was the youngest captain in the New Zealand Army, and he fought in Vietnam with 161 Battery in Nui Dat in Phuoc Toi Province. That was a story that I was fascinated with. I wanted to know more about, and I had this incredible desire to connect with the history. And I'm one of those people, and it probably sounds a little bit crazy, but if I go to a place with this history, I literally feel like I can close my eyes and hear it. And I really wanted to do that with my dad, you know, and it started off as an idea that I thought no one would get behind, but Robin Scholes was an initial champion of it, and then John Keir, and then TVNZ. And through the process of, you know, me sort of pestering away and making some demo videos and stuff like that, it got commissioned, and we went ahead and made it. And it's a pretty amazing thing to stand in a battle zone with your father, and because he wrote down the grid references, because he was an artillery officer at the time in his diary, and because we had modern GPS, I was actually able to stand with him and go, on this day, you know, 35 years ago, my father feared for his life, didn't know how this day was going to end up. I mean, it's pretty amazing to be able to picture that, and to have your father sit there and say, no. So what happened is I was here, the guns were laid down over there, and off in the distance, there were Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army regulars moving through, and I didn't know how it was going to end up. That was really special. Coming off the back of Nemesis Game and The Ferryman, I looked at Dean Spanley and I saw a film that I wanted to make it perfect. I wanted to take every lesson that I had received up until that point. I wanted to encapsulate them in one movie, and I wanted to make it perfect. I knew that I wanted to knock it out of the park. So I reached out to Tor Fraser, who had just done such an amazing job with number 2. He was on board straight away, and we've worked together since, you know, and I was so pleased by that. And both collectively, he and I, we felt that we wanted an A-list cast. So we went out to Peter O'Toole to play Fisk Senior. We straight away went out to Sam Neill to play Dean Spanley. We loved the idea of Brian Brown to play Rather. And we were really excited to get Jeremy Northam to play Fisk Jr. So everything about that film was about wanting to make a beautiful, timeless, elegant film that would be something that everyone was proud of. And the fact we got longlisted for 2 BAFTAs, nominated for a London Critics Circle Award, and an opening weekend gala at Toronto just sort of made it a dream come true. Love Birds was a story that I didn't see coming. In fact, Nick Ward sent it to me while I was on holiday with my wife in Cyprus. And straight away I was intrigued by this story of this man whose life falls apart and who finds solace in a duck and the music of Queen. So Alan Harris and I, who I've been working with, we went to EMI Records at the time, and we approached them and we said, look, we've got this movie, we just want to license a couple, 10 tracks of Queen. We know that Queen have never licensed 10 tracks before, but we'd like you to do this for us. And they sort of looked at us, and I think they thought we were crazy, and they were like, yeah, we'll take it to them, but maybe not. Then they came back a couple of weeks later and they said, look, can you just kind of put together a package? So we did that, and we went back. And then we didn't hold out much hope that we were ever going to get Queen to come on board so massively. But then we went back in again for a meeting with EMI, and they walked down and they said, look, we've got something to tell you. And we said, what? And they said, we've just got an email from Queen. They're in. They're right behind the film. So from that point onwards, when we knew we had Queen, we went, full throttle into bringing the film together. And and we loved what Paul Murphy did with Secondhand Wedding. It was timeless, and it was charming, and it was lovely, and we felt that he was the right person for the film. And when we had all of those elements together, we took it out to market, and Icon got right behind the film and helped make it possible. Giselle came about from visiting the Rialto cinemas in Newmarket a lot and seeing that they had these kind of live at the Met posters there all the time. And I was kind of intrigued by this, that obviously there was an audience, and I did a bit of research and I discovered that these sort of live ballets, operas, etc. were doing really good box office in New Zealand and doing so consistently. I kind of developed this idea that maybe what we could do is we could take a ballet and that we could merge it with another story to create a movie in of itself. So I approached the Royal New Zealand Ballet. They got right behind it, right from the get-go, which was fantastic. And then I called up Toa when I was in London, and I said, Toa, I've got this crazy idea. Do you want to do a ballet film? And what was really fantastic was Toa was like, yeah, I'd love to do a ballet film. So the rest is history, as you will. And so Toa went away and came up with this great approach. We brought Leon Nabia on board as DOP, and we worked with the choreographers Ethan Stiefel and Johan Kobog from the Royal New Zealand Ballet. And we made this film that I'm incredibly proud of. I was invited to be in the opening weekend of the New Zealand International Film Festival. It was then invited to screen at the 2013 Toronto Film Festival, and after that at the Vancouver Film Festival. So we're just delighted how this little low-budget ballet film has gone out to the world. We knew right from the beginning that we had to be incredibly respectful to Sir Edmund Hillary, his family, and his legacy and his memory. So the very first thing that I did is I called up Peter Hillary, his son, and I said, can I come around and see you? And I went to see him, and I talked through the project and told him the aspirations for the film and what we wanted to achieve and what we would and wouldn't do. Peter was incredibly generous and warm right from the beginning, and he came on board, and he's been nothing but supportive ever since, as has the whole Hillary family. So I then called up Leanne Pooley and said, do you want to have a coffee? So we went and had a coffee, and I showed her the screen story, and I said, would you be interested in doing this? And she very thankfully said yes. She went away and wrote her own treatment and her own take on it that then became the basis for which we made the film. We're doing effectively a dramatised documentary. So what we made sure that we did right from the get-go is we said, if Edmund Hillary didn't say it, if we don't have an absolute written or recorded proof somewhere that this is what Edmund Hillary says, we're not going to say it. So we made sure that the film we made is absolutely true, and it's true to Edmund Hillary. Everything in that film is based upon his words, or uses in fact his words, or the words of other people who were on the expedition with him, or who were acknowledged experts in the field themselves.